Parking positions in Copenhagen Airport. Where do everybody park? This could be an hour-long video. However, we actually have a complete written guide with an interactive graphic called Who Parks Where, which will give a complete breakdown that you can study by yourself. So we'll do it effectively in a way that makes sense. Here we go. You have 7 different stand areas: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, and Hotel. Let's just get Golf out of the way. It's cargo stands out there in the eastern side of the airport. There's no really any special thing there, it's just cargo airplanes. Note the note that Cessnas and Pipers, small airplanes, sometimes park down here in the hangar area, and sometimes you'll see some VIPs, airplanes, some Citations always want to park down here as well. But you can also have them park up here in this area, which is just to the west of runway 1230. You have a VIP terminal, and you have actually 3 VIP stands here in case you want to use them. But other than that, they are mainly parked here at the Alpha stands, which are where we are going to begin. These are the Alpha stands. They are all within Schengen, and they are pretty much lined up here as follows. Everywhere here you have Jet Time and Sunclass, which are the local Danish charter airlines. They normally park around here, mainly in the big finger west here. That's where they normally like to park. Also you have Luxair and Eurowings, the propeller airplanes. They normally park here, Alpha 25, 26, you see it right here. So when they have the Dash 8, they normally get assigned to this one here. We just want to talk real quick about Schengen and non-Schengen. So Schengen is everything that comes within Europe, meaning no passport control, and certain gates are made for no passport control. You also have the non-Schengen, which are for countries outside of Europe. So stands are either Schengen or non-Schengen, or can also be somewhere in between, which we are flexible that can serve either or. These will be highlighted as we progress. But other than that, the ones that are parked are normally the regulars. So meaning KLM, Lufthansa, Air Baltic, Finnair, all these ones. The bigger and more fancier they are, the closer they normally park into the terminal, or sometimes they park out here as well. As mentioned, VIP airplanes can also be parked out here at the Alpha 30 to Alpha 34. And note you have Danish Air Transport and LC Express here. They actually have specific stands because they want to be close to the terminal because it's domestic. Danish Air Transport goes Alpha 7, LC Express goes Alpha 9, or vice versa. If we move further on, then you will then have the Bravo stands. They're also all Schengen, no passport control. And the big question is who park here. Some say it's SAS, some say it's Star Alliance. Well, no, because we just talked about Lufthansa. Well, actually it is the ones that are handled by SAS ground handling. So basically this means SAS. SAS parks here, they park here an awful lot, but you also see some other airlines that are handled by SAS ground handling. If you don't have room at Bravo, you will also see them sometimes parked up at the Alpha stands. It's actually not really that odd. Alpha stands are just really for everyone, basically. You will see stuff like the Air Greenland A330 at Bravo 10 because it's a domestic flight and a heavy airplane because you have a heavy stand there. You're gonna see something like a Sunclass A330 going to Mallorca being parked here, and of course you will also see the Iceland Air's long 757s that need these slightly larger stands, so they're also parked here. If we move onwards, then you will have the Charlie stands. The Charlie stands are the first ones which are non-Schengen because you got a passport control right there. Remember that position. Also, it's the place at the airport that has all the heavy gates, so you can park the big airplanes. This means that you will normally have all the airlines which are going outside of Europe. So if you look at these, you see something like Singapore Airlines, Qatar Airways, Emirates, the big airplanes that are going outside, which you kind of have to think about. And also smaller airlines like British Airways, Ukraine International, Aeroflot, which are still flying smaller airplanes but are parking here due to the passport control. Moving onwards, we come to the Delta stands. These are the first that we are as flexible. This is because you actually can go from passport control up in a second level and then board the gates from a second level, but you can also board the gates from a lower level. So depending on where the airplane's going to, that's very convenient. This means the main airlines you see here are actually these airlines. What do they have in common? They are all airlines based out of Copenhagen. Because if you've got a base in Copenhagen, maybe first you fly to to Billund and back, but then suddenly you go into London. Then it's nice to have a stand where you can deboard people at one level and board them at another level. This is why you see especially SAS and Norwegian parked around here. Moving onwards, you then have the Echo stands. These are the SAS East stands. These are mainly all for SAS. You have the Echo stands here, Echo 2236. And then you have the remote stands, which are actually also normally used by SAS. And they are very specifically in the order of ferry flights that's come going to the hangar areas being parked Echo 70 to 75, the Danish ATRs from Echo 76 to 78, and the CRJs normally from 82 to 90. They can also park elsewhere, but this is a very standard configuration. Moving down, we then have the Foxtrot stands, the CBH Go, the low cost. Just a real quick mention here on the Echo stands here before we go on. These are also all flexible. You can see them here. That's because they do the same thing as they have with the Delta gates. The other Echo gates out here, they are remote, basically meaning that you need buses anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Every remote stance can be flexible. Moving onwards, you have now the Foxtrot stand, the CBH Go, low cost. Here you will see the low cost airlines, Transavia, Lauda, Ryanair, EasyJet, Wizz Air. You will not see Norwegian. Keep that in mind. You will not see them because they're based in Copenhagen, so they're fancier. They park up at Alpha. Also note the Foxtrot 1 and 4 are flexible gates, where the other ones are Schengen. If you walk down to the lower part of the Foxtrot 90 to Foxtrot 98, you will see that you can have some props. This is basically Dash 8s from Widerøe, Air Baltic, sometimes some ATRs. Basically, if it's a propeller airplane, you can always go down and park it down there. There's nothing really specific, and it's all flexible. At the very end, the arrow is a little bit badly, but you have the hotel gates that you have there further up, Hotel 101 to 106. This is just basically stands that you can take whatever airplane you don't really know where else to put. Also, if all your Foxtrot gate are filled up by low-cost airlines, you can also move them over here, which is pretty neat. That's basically it, but before finishing off, just let's look at some special stand notes. There's quite a few different things just to mention real quick. If we just take it from the beginning up there at the Alpha stands, stand Alpha 50 is not really a stand. It's normally used for pushback, as will be highlighted in another presentation. And Alpha 19 you have right here is actually a heavy stand that can handle up to a 767. If you have put a heavy airplane there, you are blocking both stand Alpha 18 and Alpha 19 and Alpha 20. Also, similar Alpha 14 can also handle up to a 767. This is convenient for Iceland there, for example. If you're moving further on, you see that Bravo 10 is a heavy stand, and also you have Bravo 17 here, which also can handle a heavy airplane, blocking Bravo 15 and 19 in the process. Also note that you have some white marked areas up here. This is because there is a discrepancy between the Flight Tampa scenery and the real world charts, and a potential future version by SimNord, meaning that in Flight Tampa you still have these stands here, meaning that they're highlighted on Euroscope, and sometimes you'll see airplanes parked there, but normally you should not use them, and they're not used on the stand plugin assignment. Moving onwards, you have stand Charlie 30. This is a medium stand, so it's no good for heavy stands. Charlie 28 and Charlie 32, these cannot be used for 747s and 777s. There's just simply a restriction there. Charlie 27, this is a stand that is primarily used for British Airways. They basically bought the stand, so they're always parking there. Charlie 39 is the only stand at the terminal area, more or less, that can handle a 747-8 or an Airbus A380. And actually, Echo 22 is also allowed to handle an A380 747-8. This of course blocks Echo 20 and Echo 24. Also here you will have the same issue when you look here with the Echo E stand, Echo 25 to Echo 35. These are marked in, but in the Euroscope and Flight Tampa, they're not really made. This is made from before this became a thing, so this is why you won't see any stand assignments going to this for the time being either, but as it gets updated, maybe we will include them in the future. If we include it, then you will see a note under this video. Further on, you also have Foxtrot 89. This is the same as the stand Alpha 50. It's not a stand, it's more like a pushback point. And moving upwards here, you have Echo 71, which is a remote stand for Airbus A380. If that is being used for A380, Echo 70, 72, and 73 will all be rendered unusable. So that is basically it for the whole thing, and thank you for listening in.